Welcome to the Mary L. Pierce well site. I'm here to kind of recap what we did and how we documented the well, talk about what we know about the history of it. So we came out here and we were able to lower a iPhone taped to LED flashlights on a rope down into the hole. And we have records of the video that we took of the inside of the well. We're going to be able to make that available to all of you to see the footage from the inside of the well. To recap the way the well is positioned in the ground, it is currently under about 10 feet of fill that was brought to the site to create Ronan Park in 1912. 10 feet down, the start of the top of the well, or the top of the well is located 10 feet below that, and then the well is about 6.5 feet deep. That makes the total opening here in the park 16.5 feet deep. The well itself is about 2.5 feet wide. It is stone lined, and at the top of it is covered in slabs of granite. And there's an opening at the top of the well that opened at some point in the not too distant past. That was either the stone covering failing or possibly a historic wooden covering failing. And during the recent rain that we had, the loosened soils slipped down into the well, partially filled the well, so we don't know how deep the well was originally, leaving only 6 feet of the well currently intact. But that's why we have the hole now, is the top fill falling down into the well. So over the past day, I've been doing historic research on the property, trying to determine who the well is owned by and the history of the well. So we are on the traditional homelands of the Massachusetts Native people, and this would have been Massachusetts land before European arrival. In the 1790s, a man by the name of Thaddeus Mason Harris, who was a pastor for the nearby First Church in Dorchester, purchased the property, and he built a massive mansion on the northern end of the park, in the northern end of Ronan Park, called Mount Ida. This area of the park, though, remained undeveloped until it was purchased in 1818 by John F. Pierce, who was a cabinet maker and a piano maker. He had a 10-acre property, and he lived nearby, actually just behind me in the buildings that are standing. He had a historic mansion where he and his wife Catherine B. and their son lived. They built 2 houses on the property, one of which would have been located by the well in Ronan Park. On September 22nd, 1871, the Pierce estate was broken up, and Mary L. Pierce, who was a widow, who was most likely related to the Pierces, but I haven't been able to figure out how yet, purchased the property, and her neighbor, Charles Emery, owned the property immediately to the north, which is where I'm standing today. So in that actual deed, it states that Mary L. Pierce needs to have access to the historic well. And I believe that's the well that we may have found. But that she only has access until May 1st of the following year. So what we believe currently is that the well is either the well built in 1818 by John Pierce for his estate, that was then transferred to Mary and Charles Emery in 1871, that Mary was then able to use briefly before she dug her own well, or, and more interestingly, or the well is the new well that Mary L. Pierce built sometime between September 22nd, 1871 and May 1st of 1872. It's either or at this point. And I'm going to do some more research to figure out if we can get it even more tightly dated. The well would have likely been abandoned sometime in the 1870s to 1890s when this area received running water from Boston Water and Sewer. At that point, Mary passed away, and the property transferred to another person by the name of Hannah Bliss, who then sold the property to the city of Boston to turn it into Ronan Park. Mary was born in 1822. She had, when she lived here in 1880, she had another widow that lived with her by the name of Frances Isabella Dana, who was 76 years old. She was 58 at the time. And in the household was Isabella, 36, and an Irish-born domestic servant named Catherine Keller.